Hey, Sammis, congratulations on the new contract and welcome to DC.
Thank
Um,
you.
I, I, I just wanted to start asking how much football, actually playing football experience do you have at this point?
Yeah, so I've been training for the past 10 weeks with IMG in Florida with the NFL's International Pathway Program. So besides an additional week in high school, that's all the organized football learning that I have done. So it's been those 10 weeks. I think it was a very condensed 10 weeks, and we learned a lot of stuff. We have prospects from all over the world there, and the coaches were great. Great. They put together a great program for us. Starting from scratch for me, making the transition from basketball, I had to start from the beginning. So I'm just very thankful to be a part of the NFL International Pathway Program, and without them, I wouldn't be here. So, yeah, feeling good.
And then clearly athletically, you're off the charts and you have the basketball background. How ready do you think you are to kind of hit the ground running whenever practice OTAs, whenever everything starts up? How ready are you to be on an NFL football field?
Yeah, I feel ready. Even though I haven't been playing the sport, I've been training for this my whole life. I came to this country when I was 14 with the dream of making the NBA. I made the wrong decision and back then. Should have been sticking to football from the beginning. I didn't know that at the time. We don't play football in Chile, but I'm ready, man. I've been training my whole life for this moment. I am well prepared. I have done everything in my power to go out there and just feel good. And right now it's all about just sitting down, learning the playbook, learning the terminology, and getting acclimated with my teammates and representing the organization at the highest level.
Thanks very much. Congrats.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Sam. It's Nikki Javala from the Washington Post. When did you decide to make the switch from basketball to football, and why?
Yeah, it was about a year ago. Once I graduated college, every single person around me was begging me to play. They were like, "You're too athletic not to be in the NFL. It's insane." I'm 260 pounds and pretty fast and pretty strong. So everyone convinced me, my friends, my closest friends, my family, and I had over 12 agents reach out to me at the time. But I give credit to, I call my godfather, Steve Rifkin, and my brother, Alex Rifkin, who really planted that seed on my brain for me to give this thing a shot. And I gave myself 365 days and we're almost there. So I think it's pretty amazing what can happen in 1 year.
What was your interaction like with Washington at Florida's Pro Day? Did you have much conversation with them before you knew they wanted to sign you?
Yeah, so of course, Pro Day was great for me. I think it really put me on the map. But I've been living in Washington for the past year. My family's here, my girlfriend's family's here, and I love the city. It's a place where for the first time in my life, it felt like home. For me, coming from a different country, I have been moving from place to place since I was 14 years old. This past year was the first time I had my own place, my own house. So it just felt right. And, I had conversations with over 20 teams and I had over seven trips planned out. And once Washington, which was the number one team on my list, reached out to me at Pro Day right after we got done, I was like, I really want to go there. I spoke to my family. I spoke to everyone here. I knew this past year, they had a good year and they had a new coach, and it felt right. It felt the right culture, the right organization. And of course, Coach Rivera is a guy who I truly admire. So I'm just truly blessed to be here.
Go with Heather and then Scott.
I want to make sure that we're saying that it's Sammis, right?
That's right. You got it right.
Sammis, welcome to Washington, although it sounds like you've already been here. So I'm just so intrigued by your story and what I guess did you know about football growing up in Chile? And then obviously once you're in the US, football is like number one. So what did you know about the NFL and stuff like that when you were growing up?
Yeah, honestly, not much. I think there's two or a few teams in Chile that are very local teams that get together, and it's a couple guys that get together after work to train. But I never really knew anything about it until I moved here. Since I was 13 years old, I've been playing with the Chilean national team. So both of my parents also play basketball. So for me, it was only one path and one path only, which is the basketball route. But once I got here, the day I got here, I remember just walking into school and the football coach coming up to me saying, "Hey, you need to play football, man. What are you doing playing basketball?" So, I didn't really know much about the game, but once you start learning the ins and the outs of the game, you just fall in love with it. And right now, I'm just obsessed with learning as much as I can before the season and watching film, sitting down, looking into what my role is going to be within the team, and just working as hard as I can to be ready when my name is called up.
Is it like cramming, like learning all the, for a sport that you really hadn't played, like what's that been like, the learning curve? And like, is it like cramming for a test at Tulane? Like, but like what's it been like?
Yeah, so I've taken pretty hard classes, right? I majored in business. I was one class away from getting my second degree in finance. So I think I have the capabilities of learning a new language, a new sport. But of course, it takes time, right? You can't rush a process that it takes years. Guys have been doing this for 10 years before they get to the NFL, if not longer. They've been around the game their entire lives. So for me to come here and think that it's going to be overnight, I think I'll just be naive. But what I do know is that no one is going to outwork me when it comes to sitting down and truly learning the game. So that's why I have so much confidence, because I believe that I can truly learn this and have a real impact in the city and the team. And like I said, represent the organization at the highest level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott?
Hey, Sammis, welcome to Washington. Glad to have you. You mentioned it a little bit. Obviously, there's the physical aspect of the blocking, the running, and whatnot at the tight end position, but then there's the terminology, learning the offense. Is that going to be your biggest challenge right now, kind of learning that playbook and figuring out the different blocking schemes and the routes and whatnot?
Yeah, like you said, I think physically I'm ready. I think my numbers show that. Right now, yes, it is going to be about sitting down, learning the playbook. But like I said, I'm ready for the challenge. I'm not gonna be at work when it comes to this. I'm gonna do everything in my power to get it. And whatever the team needs me to do, I'm willing to do. I'm gonna, make any sacrifice that's required of me to be here, because I love this place.
And I'm sure you're well aware the Division I basketball player going to a tight end. There's a history there. Tony Gonzalez, Mo Alley Cox, Antonio Gates, the list goes on and on. Curious, have you reached out to any of those individuals for maybe some advice, or as you approach this transition?
Yeah, I haven't really, reached out to them. I know there are busy people, but I have followed their stories, right? Without them, I probably wouldn't have this big of a shot because there wouldn't be a road. The road has been traveled by other guys that made the transition from basketball to football. And I have to just thank them for, making this possible for the next guys. This is not something that's new. It's something that has been proven to work. It's just require a guy who's willing to put in the work. And that's me. So I'm ready.
Thanks again, man. Welcome.
Thank you.
We'll go Darren Haynes, John Keim, and then Moises.
Hey, Sammis, welcome to the Washington football team. I'm just listening to your story, which is kind of almost inspirational. And there's so many people in the United States working their butt off to live their dream to play in the NFL. I mean, I played when I was 7 years old, and that was my dream. What was that moment like for you when you got the call from Washington or whatever it was, and then you realize that deal is done and you're now part of an NFL team? What was that moment like?
Sure, I love that question, man, because I know, like, for my parents, this means the world. We were, my dad came to visit me from Chile. Both of my parents live in Chile. I've been here by myself since I was 14, just with a dream of making something with my life, because Chile is a place where we don't have that many opportunities. I came from a very poor family for a very humbling background. We didn't have a lot of money. When I first came to the States, my dad was able to send me $50 a month for the first 4 years. So you can only imagine how hard I was. And when I came here, I didn't speak English. I didn't know the language. I couldn't tell you a single thing. And, so now getting that call and having that special moment, we were at the gym sitting on the ground, doing abs or something. And then we got the call. My agent Tabitha called me and she said the deal was done. I was like, that's it. I don't care about any other offer that comes in the table. I want to be in Washington. I want to be a part of that team. And, you know, we just sat down and cried for like 30 minutes because we couldn't believe how crazy it was. And, you know, it's been a long road. It's been 10 years of, you know, sacrifice and hard work. And not only, you know, me doing these sacrifices, but my family. You know, you can only imagine what it means like to have to, you know, send your kid away to a place where you can't even speak the language. So my parents couldn't even communicate with my teachers. It was a long road. And, you know, just getting here, I know it's just the beginning, but it truly means the world to me and my family to have this opportunity.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, Sam, it's John Keim, ESPN. Going back to that moment, and I talked to your agent, she said she had tears in her eyes when you got this call too. What were the things in addition to all that? Was there a moment in particular that you look back on after you got that call that the deal was done? Was there one moment in particular?
I think there's plenty, right? The first one, the moment I left home, I was at the airport. I had to leave my parents behind. You know, I had like my family is a big family. We're, you know, a Latino community. You know, we have a lot of people in our bags that support us. So just walking through the gates and, you know, not being able to look back and see my family anymore at 14 years old, I think that's the first thing that came to my mind. But at the same time, you know, every sacrifice that has happened after that, you know, every blood, sweat and tears that came with training and, you know, not making the NBA and all those other things that were also dreams. So it was just a moment of true happiness.
And then going back, you said over the last year, other people were telling you that you should do this. But what told you that you should do this? Because it's got to come from inside. So what told you that, okay, I really can do this?
I just looked at myself in the mirror one morning and I was like, you know, I'm built for this. I should be in the NFL. I belong there. And not only, I know my physical attributes are special. I know, you know, I can jump 40 inches. I'm fast, you know, I'm heavy. I'm 260 pounds. You know, but the mental aspect of it, you know, everything that happened to me hardened my mindset, my mind, and it allowed me to look inside myself and say, hey, like, you are built for this life. You're built for something that's not easy, because nothing is going to be easy from now on. Everything is going to be a fight, you know, and I have to get up every morning and fight. And that's what I've been doing for 10 years. So it's nothing new to me. So that was just having those type of conversations with myself and telling myself that I'm capable of doing this. And, you know, I'm a big reader. I read a lot of books and, you know, motivational stuff. And, you know, it was just looking at myself and saying, let's go, let's do it.
Thanks, Sammis. Congrats.
Thank you.
Moisés.
Sammis, ¿cómo estás? Moisés Linares de Telemundo aquí. En realidad que me da mucho orgullo de poder saludarte en español. No recuerdo la última vez que pude hablar con un jugador en español. Tal vez algunos que tenían 2 que 3 palabras. Te quiero preguntar primero, tu historia es muy similar a la del inmigrante que viene a este país a triunfar y que sueña con grandes cosas. ¿Te identificas tú con esa historia y por qué?
Por supuesto. Yo soy un inmigrante de la primera generación, ¿no es cierto? Y la primera generación siempre le toca más difícil, ¿no es cierto? Porque llegan a un país nuevo donde no tienen conexiones, no tienen contactos, tal vez no hay mucho dinero. Entonces, cuando llegué acá, partí en Florida, en un estado de inmigrantes. Y muchos de mis compañeros de clase eran de habla hispana, latinos. Entonces, obviamente, me miro a ellos y me siento identificado con la gente que ha logrado hacer algo acá en Estados Unidos siendo un inmigrante. Y no soy el primero en lograr algo grande, pero siento que puedo ser un ejemplo para los chicos y chicas que viven en nuestros países de Latinoamérica, para que ellos también se atrevan a salir del país, a pelear por un sueño, por el deporte, o ya sea en otra disciplina. No tiene que ser deportivo, puede ser también, si yo quiero ser un abogado y ir a Estados Unidos, voy a enfocarme en ser el mejor abogado que pueda ser. Entonces eso para mí fue realmente especial y el amor de la gente que me ha llegado en las redes sociales ha sido increíble y por eso me siento muy bendecido.
No tomaste el camino que muchos jugadores del fútbol americano toman, has creado un camino diferente, has seguido el camino que muy pocos atletas han seguido y eras un jugador de baloncesto, ahora te estás transformando en un jugador de fútbol americano y estás dotado para hacerlo.
Gracias. Sí, creo que, como dije, físicamente creo que tengo todo lo necesario, pero al mismo tiempo quiero dar el énfasis a toda la gente que esté mirando y escuchando esto, que la mente es mucho más importante que lo físico. Lo que está acá arriba es mucho más importante que tu atributo físico. Entonces yo no sería el jugador que soy físicamente si es que no hubiera entrenado por eso, ¿no es cierto? Obviamente mi padre era alto, tenía buenos genes, pero tuve que pelear por sacar un salto, tuve que pelear por ser más rápido, tuve que pelear por ser más fuerte. Y eso requirió muchos años.
Y finalmente, Sames, cuando hablamos de Chile, hablamos de Alexis Sánchez, hablamos de Arturo Vidal, hablamos del Bam Bam Zamorano, el Matador Salas, chileno en la NFL, posiblemente el primer chileno en esta liga. ¿Cómo te sentís?
Increíble. Muchos de ellos me han mandado mensajes deseándome buena energía. Y ha sido un placer. Ojalá esta no sea la última vez que un chileno esté en esta liga, ¿no es cierto? Ojalá que este sea el comienzo de una nueva camada de jugadores que participen acá. Yo sé que hay talento en Latinoamérica, no solamente en Chile, en toda Latinoamérica hay mucha más gente podría estar donde estoy yo si tuviéramos el acceso que existe en Estados Unidos a estas tremendas instalaciones, al conocimiento, a la información. Entonces, este es el comienzo, créanme, a toda mi gente latina, este es solamente el comienzo.
Could you just summarize that in English for
Yes.
people?
Yes. So for anybody who's listening, they just asked me to kind of give a little summary in English. We just talked about being an immigrant in the United States, coming from humble beginnings and coming to this country with a dream of making something out of nothing. You know, a lot of immigrants that come to this country come with a little bit of money. Maybe in my case, I was a first generation immigrant. You know, I didn't have a family or anyone to look up to when I got here. So it's a big responsibility to handle yourself in a professional way, to make sure that you represent your family and your countries and the Latino community in a proper way, because it's not many of us in the big leagues, right? It's not many of us. So we have to make sure that when we do get there, we show that we belong. We belong. And that's the biggest thing for me, just trying to represent my community in the best way that I can.
Right, we'll go Matt Paris, Ben Standing, and then Rhiannon Walker.
Hey, I was just curious, what were those 10 weeks like? Like, what was the most jarring thing when you first got on the field? Like, what was kind of do you have a welcome to football moment, even though it's not a welcome to the NFL moment, but what was that most jarring?
I mean, I got there very well prepared, but I think the biggest shock was learning the game. Football is not an easy game. You know, you have 11 players in offense, 11 players in defense, 11 players in special teams. Everyone has a different role. It's not like basketball where you have 5 guys per team and everyone does a little bit of everything, right? Football is very different, right? So having to learn my position was challenging. I was very fortunate that the NFL Pathway Program had great coaches. You know, the tight end coach that I had was Coach Steve Hagan, former Jets tight end coach, and he helped me out so much throughout this whole process. Same thing with Will Bryce and James Cook, the head coaches at the program. But like I said, without the NFL Pathway Program, I wouldn't be here, right? Because they gave me that foundation of those 10 weeks. So I think the biggest thing and the hardest thing was just learning the game and getting out there every morning, lifting weights, and then a long practice in the afternoon, full speed. So that was the best thing that could have happened to me, just going there.
And if you play in a game week 1, you'd be the first Chilean-born player to make the NFL. What would that mean to you? And is that something that you're thinking about?
Of course, there's never been a Chilean player in the NBA or the NFL. So it's a big accomplishment, but at the same time, I understand that I got to keep my feet on the ground and I got to make sure that I'm locked in the moment and not get too ahead of myself. Like everyone tells me, just focus on the next rep. You know, I want to focus on like today. What can I do today to get better? Every morning I get up, what can I do today to be a little bit better than I was yesterday? So I don't want to look too far ahead into the future. I want to take it day by day and make the best of each day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sammis, Ben Standing with The Athletic. So much interesting stuff here, including the fact that you've been in this town for the last year. Beyond getting ready for football, what have you been doing around town?
Yeah, I've been, you know, I was training people for basketball to make a little bit of money. So I was, you know, training just local kids. I tried to invest my own money to make additional income. So everything that I was making, I was trying to invest. And I was doing DoorDash. I did DoorDash for like 5 months during the quarantine because there were no one wanted to train, so I couldn't train anyone because of COVID. So I got on the road, and I was, on the road 8 hours a day driving DoorDash. That's the reality of what I was doing.
Well, decent chance then you delivered something to my house based on what I've been doing. You said you came to this country not speaking English. Your English is obviously quite good beyond school. What helped you learn the language? Anything in the culture that kind of helped you along the way?
I think the school that I went to didn't have a program for people that were Hispanic speaking students. So the first day in class, my first day in the United States, they threw me into a math class, a regular high school math class. So I think I had to learn by having enough confidence to allow myself to go out there and speak and sit down. And I had a dictionary at the time because I didn't have a phone. So I'll just pull out the dictionary and I'll rewrite every word that I thought was going to be necessary for me. And then I'll listen to music and I'll translate the music, or I'll watch movies in English, and I'll try to see if I could pick up any words with subtitles in English. And then I'll pause the movie and I'll write everything that was in the movie. So it was hard in the beginning, but I was lucky enough that I was young enough to learn. I was 14, so my brain was pretty plastic at the time. So I picked up the language pretty quickly.
Were there any movies that you remember specifically translate or taking the word?
I think watching The Matrix a couple times. I remember watching The Matrix a couple times. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, Sammis Reyes and Walker with The Athletic. You talked about the various people who've gone from football to basketball to football as tight ends. I'm just curious, for your particular skill set, what do you feel like in your game best translates to the NFL? What are some things you talked about working on different things? What are some things you want to work on as well too?
Yeah, I think my ability to run routes and go get the ball high up in the air is probably my biggest, trait. I'm 6'6" and I can jump 40 inches. So if you throw me the ball up high, I'll go get it. Creating separation from defenders. I just bring the basketball court into the field and try to use my best impression of an Allen Iverson crossover. And, trying to get open. And when it comes to blocking, just being physical and, putting my head down and going to work. Right, just that the underdog mentality and the ability to block is also going to be huge for me.
What were the things when you talked to Washington? What are some of the things that they said that they liked about your game? Some ways that they might be able to use you in Scott Turner's offense, and what are some things that you saw in the offense that you really like about it as well too?
Yes, I met with the coaches, and they thought I'll be a good fit for the team. We haven't gotten into too many of the little aspects of everything that's going to go into how they're going to be using me, but the biggest thing for me with making this decision was a culture, right? Because they have a culture where Coach Rivera I know he's a great guy, and I truly admire him for everything that he has been going through this past year. So for me, it was more about making sure that I'm going to go to a place where they will teach me, and I think this is the place.
Last thing, I'm sorry, just when you were doing DoorDash for 5 months, you talked about kind of being low about not making the NBA. How did you keep motivating yourself in a situation like that, where you're not training people for basketball, you're not really doing any of the things you want to do? How did you keep yourself motivated during those 5 months in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love books. I love knowledge. I get up every morning, and before I do anything, well, now my life is everything about football. But when I wasn't, on a team, I was reading a lot of self-help books, a lot of motivational books, listening to a lot of podcasts. So I'll get on the road and I'll play a podcast in the car, and I'll just listen for hours. And then once the episode was over, I'll move on to the next one. And I've always been very ambitious. So there was never a moment where I doubted success. I didn't know how it was going to come, but I knew something was going to happen because of my mindset that was going to help me get there. And, it just happened to be football, which I trained very hard to be here.
Thank you. And again, welcome to the Washington football team.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we'll do Michael Phillips, Pete Haley, Chris Russell, and then we're going to open it up to some of the international outlets.
Hey, appreciate it. Just one question. Have you been to a football game or an NFL game before?
Yes. So I went to Tulane, right? So the Saints were big there. So we went to, my teammates and I, we used to always go to Saints games. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Pete, and then Chris Russell.
What's going on, Sammis? Can you take us back to your pro day at Florida? Did you expect or think that if you aced that day, you would be signed? Because the IPPP, you're supposed to kind of get signed to a practice squad later. Just what was your mindset there? And then what was it like knowing you did so well that you landed a job right off the bat?
Yeah, I was so locked in that day. I have been training so hard for an opportunity just to be noticed, just to, get a little bit of exposure. And I knew that was my day. So I worked really, really hard for that day. And then once we knew it was a Florida, and once we knew, it was going to be a good one, and, a lot of scouts came, I just went out there and performed. There was no sense of, nervousness in my body. I was just locked in. And I told myself, whatever happens, just keep going, don't stop, just work. And I did what I've been doing for years. I had to jump, I had to do my bench press test, I had to run, I had to catch a few footballs, nothing new.
And I don't know how much, if at all, you put on pads during this 10-week process, but what do you think it's going to be like putting on pads and being tackled by NFL players? How much are you looking forward to that? Is that something you've thought about as now that you have this dream in front of you?
Yeah, so during the program, I was the only player that had to wear pads every single day, right? Because, they wanted to make sure that I got acclimated to the pads. So I wore pads every single day. We did some drills at full speed, mostly blocking. We didn't do tackling full speed just because we had to take care of our bodies for pro day. But I always tell people, I don't think there's going to be anything harder than, having to leave home when you're 14, to a different country. So I'm prepared for whatever it comes. And, just having that underdog mentality. I know those are questions that people have, right? What's going to happen in his first tackle? Some of my friends show me some of these comments that they see like on Instagram, on Bleacher Report, or like on the NFL site when they posted my stuff. And I block all that out. I'm locked in, like I said, in the moment and focusing on the next rep.
Thank you. And if you know to stay away from Instagram comments, you're already halfway there. That's a good one.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, now we're going to open it up. If there's any international outlets on, y'all can fire away with questions. Rodrigo, do you want to start us off?
I think his mic is muted.
Hi, can I start?
Yep, fire away.
Hey, Sammy, I'm a reporter from Brazil. My Spanish sucks, so we have to speak
It's all good. It's all good.
I just want to clarify the timeline between when your basketball career was over in college, when you decided to start to pursue football, and then when did you start this 10-week program at IGN?
Yeah, so I graduated in 2018 from Tulane. However, I played 2019 for the Chilean national team. We played in the qualifiers for the World Cup, which was in China. And then I also did a few circuits with them, just, preparing for whatever was coming our way, whether it was the Olympics or the World Cup, I can't really remember. So that was 2019. Now in May of 2020, that's when I gave myself 365 days to start. So May or April, one of the two. And then, now I'm here. It's 2021, and I'm finally with the club. So I'm just so excited to be here once again.
You said you went to the United States when you were 14. How was that process? How were you approached? I read you were approached by a basketball scout. How was that process like?
Yes. So when I was 13, we were doing a tour with the Chilean under 15 national team, and we went to Texas. And that's when a guy saw me and he was like, "Hey, you have a shot in the United States. Come over, play basketball. We'll give you a full scholarship." So, I mean, I'd never paid for school since I was 10 years old. I was blessed enough to play sports, so I always had a scholarship. And then once I got here, it was day by day, day by day. First, I think the biggest challenge, more than the language, is getting acclimated to the American culture. The United States is an hyper competitive place where everyone wants to succeed. and that's what makes this country so great. That's what gives this country so many opportunities for people who are willing to put in the work. So coming here at a young age, being away from family, the first year I was here, I didn't see my parents for an entire year. So it was very hard. It was really, really hard. But like I said, 10 years later, we're here. So every single sacrifice was worth it.
Last question. You played for Tulane, and the only South American-born player active on the NFL is Cairo Santos, who is from Brazil. You think what is like that pipeline, South America, Tulane, the NFL? Have you spoke to him? Have you met him?
Yeah. So the guy from Brazil, he reached out to me on Instagram. He went through the IPP program. So he's with the Dolphins now, and we've had some communication over.
No, this is Duval. Duval Queiroz. Yeah, he's from the International Pathway Group.
Got it. Yeah. So
I talked about Cairo Santos, who's the kicker from the Bears.
Right. You're right. Yeah. So I haven't talked to him, but just being one of the only members of the Latino community playing in the United States, it's a true honor. I couldn't be more proud to represent all of us, right? Because even though we have different countries, we're all very similar. And I think we're more similar than we are different. And that's what makes the Latino community so special.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Rodrigo?
Yeah, Sammis.
Yes.
Hola, Sammis. Felicitaciones. ¿Siempre fue Washington tu única opción o lograste tener en la mesa otras ofertas que en algún momento te hicieron pensar en firmar por otro equipo?
Sí, la verdad es que luego del Pro Day conversé con más de 20 equipos de la NFL, mi agente no le paraba de sonar el teléfono, mi teléfono no paraba de sonar y tenía 7 visitas agendadas, pero mi prioridad siempre fue Washington si es que estaba la oportunidad y si es que ellos mostraban interés. Entonces el día que ellos me hablaron, yo le dije a mi agente que esa era mi prioridad, por lo cual decidimos agendar el viaje a Washington de los primeros. Apenas yo salí de IMG, salí un día viernes, el día domingo estaba visitando ya Washington junto a todo el coaching staff y a los gerentes y a toda la parte administrativa. Y tenía agendado el día lunes en la noche un viaje a Atlanta. Después el día domingo tenía un viaje agendado a Kansas y al final cancelé todo. Dije, cuando los términos fueron los correctos, junto a mi agente decidimos que Washington era el lugar que yo quería estar, que me encanta esta ciudad y es realmente un honor poder representar esta franquicia.
Real quick, could you just summarize that one?
Yes, just to summarize that in English for everyone else. He asked me if I had any other options to play for other teams once the pathway program ended. And the answer is yes. My agent, Tabitha Plummer, she had communication with, 15, 20 other teams. My phone was blowing up. And we were going to schedule 7 visits. We had 2 of those already scheduled with Atlanta and with Kansas City. And we just decided that my first priority was always Washington. It's the place where I wanted to play, where I wanted to go from day one. And I told her if they showed interest, I want to go there first. So once I came here, we were able to figure out all the terms of the contract, and it just felt right. It felt right once I walked into the building. I didn't care what the building looked like. I didn't care what the facilities looked like. The only thing I cared was about the culture and the people present in those facilities. And it just, I canceled every other trip that I had, and I signed as soon as I could. So yes, thank you.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. We can open it up to anyone else who has any additional questions.
Hey, Sam, when you moved here when you were 14, if your parents weren't here, who were you living with?
Yeah, so I went to a school called Westlake Prep. That was the first school that I went to in Davie, Florida. And I stayed with the team. We have, 4 guys in an apartment. Unfortunately, the program ended within like 3 months I was there. So everyone else was like 18, 19 playing for the team. So everyone left. They went to JUCOs, they went to Division I schools. So I had to stay at the apartment for 4 or 5 months by myself. And I think that was a tough time because I didn't speak English at the time. My coaches weren't coming around to visit me as often as I would have liked to. But I think the thing that saved me was playing AAU basketball that summer. Once I got linked up with Each One Teach One, which is a big basketball organization, I was in a good place.
And how did your parents move to the Washington area, or when? Like, what
My
brought
parents
them
are
this
not in
way?
Washington.
Oh, I'm
My
sorry.
parents live in Chile. Yeah,
Oh,
they up until this day, my mom, she is a teacher, a PE teacher, and a basketball coach. And my dad is an insurance adjuster for when cars get into accidents. So they both work in Chile. They both live in Chile. You know, I'm here by myself now with my girlfriend living in, you know, in our apartment.
Thanks.
Yep.
Sammis, how much have
Sammis.
you been able to see them since you moved here?
It's been hard. I think once a year is what we were able to accomplish. You know, we made sure it was all the big dates. So like Mother's Day, I was trying to go back to Chile. When I graduated from Tulane, both of my parents were able to come. But I'll say once a year at least. Yep.
Sammis, why did you choose, ¿por qué elegiste la posición de tight end? Why did you choose the tight end position?
Yes. Should I go in Spanish first or English and do both?
You go Spanish first. And
Spanish first, okay. Elegí la posición de tight end porque creo que es la que se movía más fácilmente del básquetbol al fútbol. Consideramos otras posiciones como defensive end, pero los entrenadores del Pathway Program decidieron dejarme como tight end por mis cualidades físicas. And I'll just repeat in English so everyone else gets it. He asked me why did I choose the tight end position, and the answer is because I thought that's what, not me, but my coaches, what translates to football, like what my skills were able to be easily converted to football the easiest. And you know, they considered putting me in a different position, like tight end. I mean, I'm sorry, like defensive end. But you know, my coaches at the NFL Pathway Program, they decided that tight end was the best move.
¿Te motiva un poco más el saber que el equipo de Washington necesita otro ala cerrada? Does it motivate you even more to know that, you know, Washington might need a tight end this season to complement Logan Thomas?
Yes, por supuesto. Creo que Logan la temporada pasada tuvo un breakout season, lo hizo muy bien. Y él fue el primero en llamarme. Logan fue la primera persona en llamarme y darme la bienvenida al equipo. Realmente se ve como una persona a la cual estoy muy ansioso de aprender de él, porque yo sé que él tiene mucho que enseñarme, así que no solamente se nota el tipo de persona que él es, pero también que está dispuesto a ayudar a otros. Y siento que el tener la oportunidad de ser parte de este equipo cuando hay una necesidad de tight end, creo que se sintió bien eso también. Estoy contento de estar en este lugar. And just to translate, I am the first person that called me once the news came out was Logan Thomas. He reached out to me and he was just like, hey, welcome to the team. It's so cool to have you. And, you know, we got on the phone, we spoke for a little bit, and he just, you know, seems like a great guy who cares about this team and cares about helping somebody else. He was like, no matter what you need, man, just call me. And, you know, we just started off with the right foot. It felt great.
We got time for 2 more questions. Does anyone have anything else? All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And thank you, Sammis.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all the help. Thank you guys.